And Chairman Balmer,
Yes,
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard said she's having connectivity problems.
okay.
We picked up John Collins Mohammed as a member. So
All right. Thank you very much, STL TV. What we'll do now is we call the legislative session committee meeting to order. Sharita, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd. Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro.
present,
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Muhammad.
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Chairman Balmer.
Present.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. 6 present, quorum is not established.
Okay. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard apparently is having connection problems. I can see she's on. So we'll have to wait for her to get on. Or until the president can arrive. I know he's having
Well, we're
another
not-
meeting.
we're not taking a vote on anything, so we don't have to have a quorum.
That's correct. I was trying to be as legal as possible. This is
Okay. No, I
this
just-
process. I don't want to leave anyone any doubt that we're doing everything by the book that we can. Because we do have to move for approval of the minutes, and I believe that does require a vote. So we need a quorum. Yeah, so we need to do that because we have minutes from 3 meetings we have to approve.
Wow.
So we do need a quorum to vote on that.
Yes,
Not gonna leave anything to chance with this process. So you can talk amongst yourself, but remember the public is watching. Sheree, let me know if we get Shamim on anywhere. Is she trying to use her phone maybe, or?
I'm sorry, I am texting her now,
Okay, thank you so much.
and I'll reach out to the others on the committee.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
I believe Alderman Kodar is in a hearing for
Okay.
his, and
Yeah.
just as myself, not be able to make it the last 2 nights, running a restaurant during COVID, still, trying to find staff. That's why I was unable to make it the last 2 nights.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Right,
her Nathan's having knee surgery. So hopefully she's there with him, I would hope.
Okay, what we'll do, it's 11:08 currently. Let's go into recess for about 10 minutes and see if we can get Alderwoman Clark Hubbard connected. So I'm going to mute myself. I believe Alderman Bosley has joined. Is that correct? Can we, this showed up on my screen.
he's not on the committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost track of my list here. There we go. Sorry. 2 Boyds, no Bosley. Sorry.
I just spoke to Alderman Boyd. He's on his way in. to the
All
meeting.
right. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Mhm.
It's like the voice of God coming down when he speaks, isn't it?
I know.
Remember that when I want something.
He's got the little echo going in the background.
Yeah.
Reminded me,
Father. All right.
there's Jeffrey. Now, there's Jeff.
Okay.
We have a quorum now. Jeff's
Right.
here.
Okay. Do we need to legally, do we need to take roll again, Sharita?
No, sir, I added
Okay.
him onto the.
All right.
vote.
Again, leaving nothing to chance. We'll make sure we're doing everything properly. All right. Since we have a quorum, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 1st, November 2nd, and November 3rd's meeting.
So moved.
I'm sorry, Chairman, it's only November the 1st and 2nd.
Oh, second, we don't have meetings from last night yet. I'm sorry.
No, sir.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay. All right, Sharita, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
aye,
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderman Coder, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Martin, Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Chairman Ballmer,
Aye.
7 aye votes.
All right, with your vote, we've approved the minutes from November 1st and November 2nd. We will hold excused aldermen until the end of the meeting. We will move forward again with Board Bill 101. I'd like to thank Mr. Vice Chair, Alderman Boyd, and the members of the committee for the last 2 evenings. Again, as I stated before, my business did not allow me to be running a food and beverage business during COVID. I am short-staffed and had to take care of business. I have gone through and watched most of the 2 meetings. And I want to thank the public for all the input that they have given us. And we continue to receive input, and we're using all that to create the best map that we can. While we cannot address every comment and everything we get personally, we're compiling all this information to create everything. Again, this is a map in progress. And I like to thank some of the input we got was, I think all you saw, the lines were too large. We couldn't see things. And I believe Mary, Tom, and the president with their technical know-how have updated this to a street level map that is available. Is that correct, Tom?
That's correct.
Okay, so you can now zoom in, pick out your street, see where you're at. And as we change and do things, it'll be a little clearer for everyone. Again, this is a work in progress. And we are doing all we can to take all this input, because we have legal parameters that we have to abide by. And we are addressing those. I've seen comments saying that, our 5%, deviation is not legal, whereas 3%, but it can be up to 10%. We're having everything looked at as we go along this process to make sure we're doing everything properly. So, and another reminder, some of the comments I saw, this map does have to be done legally by the end of the year before 2022, but it does not take effect. Many people I speak with and read, they believe it's going to take effect January 1st, 2022. It does not go into effect till after the elections in April of 2023. Everything's going to stay the same. There's no power grab or things being done by anyone here trying to create a map. Many of us, some will run, some will not. New people will run. This new map does not take effect till after the elections of 2023. So with those statements, the president is still not with us. Mr. Shepherd, will you proceed with the?
Sure, just an update. Just wanted to, give an idea to everyone what we're gonna be doing over the next few days. We plan on presenting an updated map Tuesday of next week. In this, call it draft version 2.0. What we'll be doing is taking into account some of the public comment that we've heard, having further talks with elected officials in those areas to help us, develop an updated map. We will have, in this map, the next map will have all the wards within the deviation that's legal. One of the, with this first map, this first draft, we wanted to kind of show, how it would look and trying to keep all, as many neighborhoods whole as possible. But, when you get, down to the legal requirements of the deviations of the populations within these different wards, you kind of see that there are going to be, some neighborhoods that have to get, that'll be within 2 wards, especially when you have very large neighborhoods that all border each other. There's really no combination that works, that doesn't either create some super ward or, to be legal, you have to split the neighborhood within 2 wards in order to stay legal. So, and then also, of course, the other legal requirement, 1 person, 1 vote, not diluting any minority populations. And so those are the goals for the next version of the map. And we plan on releasing that Tuesday of next week.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, and we will have 2 meetings next week, Tuesday and Thursday. They'll be on the calendar tomorrow. I see a hand raised, Alderman Carl. You have a comment or a question?
No,
Mr. Shepherd?
a question, so, and I guess, and I've probably been the one spreading the misnomer, but I thought if the map took effect at the first of the year, it goes to the Board of Elections and because it teams up with the state and federal precincts and I thought that the voting, I guess maybe I thought that the new ward numbers would be at the first of the year. So when people vote, they would be in that new ward and have a new.
No, my understanding is at that point, who would be the alderman in that ward? If there's 2 aldermen, 3 aldermen, while this will be a law by the end of the year when the mayor signs it, it will not, the effect date, I don't know if it's April 16th or what date it will be, but after the election, I guess when we are all sworn in, whoever is being sworn in, because the new wards do not take effect till April 2023 is my complete understanding and all the meetings I've been through. And this guy, you can't have 14 wards as of January 1st, 2022 with 28 aldermen. I don't think that would work too well.
No.
No, I didn't know if they were going to do by area. So, and I guess my question, and you may not have the answer, but maybe by the next meeting I might see an answer so that I'm corrected. So next year, after the first year, the 23rd ward, which is not the ward I'm in, will that still exist and will people still vote where they always voted?
That's correct. That's correct, sir. This does not take place until after 2023's elections. This does not take place after it's signed by the mayor. And I believe, correct me, I believe, Tom, we have to send this before the end of the year. We have to send this to Board of Elections for them to overlay precincts for the new map. Is that correct, Mr. Shepherd?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
that's correct.
Yeah.
But-
So that's all been done. That'll all be done. This is our city. We're redrawing with 14 wards. It does not go into effect till after the 2023 elections. So you will all still be the alderman of your ward until that time. Whoever decides, I believe next November will be the cutoff for you to decide if you're going to run for election or not. I forget the date, but at that point, it'll be, whoever wants to run for the new areas, and that will be it. And once the 2023 elections are over, then the new 14 ward format goes into effect.
Okay, so yeah, so then I completely misunderstood because my understanding was it goes to the Board of Elections. They basically, put what wards you're in, what precincts, what, and who your state and federal representatives and what Senate district. And I thought that all went into effect. So, if. So
Yeah, I think
I might have been the one that spread that. I figured
Yeah,
you have to work with people in the area. I didn't know how that
No,
worked.
no, no, that would be, I mean, just from a practicality, how would you do that? So there's no way that this is all, again, it's, well, back in 2003, when they had the great change around there, for an example, the 10th ward that I'm representing now used to be the 24th ward. And when they moved the 20th and the 10th around, Craig Schmidt, who was the 10th ward alderman, did not live in the new 10th ward. But he still represented the 10th ward till after the 2000, the next election, till it was done. So there was a lame duck period like we're having here. This period from when this new map is approved till after the next elections, everything stays the way, it is.
I guess the only, if, I don't know, let's say if some alderman in a ward number that's higher than 14, if they resigned or something, I'm assuming that vacancy wouldn't get filled until they just wait till 2023.
We'll wait.
No, so I guess functionally for any elections moving forward, the boundaries will have changed, but I would, the people that are elected now would still represent the boundaries they were elected until their term was
That's
over
correct.
with.
The boundaries, but would the 23rd ward, in my case, still exist on a map then, or no?
Yes.
I don't know. I think Tom was saying differently. I understand the boundaries. I would still represent the boundaries of what that would be within the new. Tom, am I misinterpreting this? Will the 23rd ward still exist next year?
Yes.
It'll exist till April of 2023.
Okay, Tom looked like he was.
I mean, we can check the charter language that changed that it made, but I think, just at least for practical purposes, it exists. You're still the 23rd ward alderman because you were elected for
You're elected
a term
for
until 2023. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I was just, like I said, I was confused by it because and I appreciate the update. And
Yeah, there'll be 28 aldermen in
I realize
2022.
that- no, I understand that. I just didn't know if you represented the boundary within the boundaries of what used to be the 23rd ward within the new.
Well, in the new map, there is no
Because I think
23rd
the new
ward.
map-
You're
There is no 23rd ward.
with a new map, there's only 14 wards.
I understand.
So
Yeah,
There
there
will be
won't be
no-
another 23rd ward elected, even if you vacated office. I don't think once the election board has that
No,
data
okay.
that they wouldn't be able to hold an election for a 23rd ward.
Maybe you're misunderstanding what I'm saying though. So next year, there will be no 23rd ward as of the first of the year.
No, I
Yeah.
believe the language of the board bill will state that this goes into effect because that's after the April elections of 2023. I believe that's supposed to be the language in
Yeah,
it.
unless there's something in that charter amendment that said, something otherwise. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to know. So, and I think, I just wanted to know how that worked. And I understood the boundaries, that you would still be within the boundaries, but I don't know that when people get their cards to vote, they'll get a card saying you're now in
Mhm.
blah ward, which may not be.
Not till 23.
Now, Joe, it's again,
Right, no, I
we
understand.
we have 28 aldermen elected to their terms. Their terms all expire. That's why we had the last election with only a 2-year term for the odd numbered aldermen. So what happens is all 28 will be able to run for office. Again, when we do this, the even number wards will be running for a 4-year and the odd numbers for a 2-year as of April 2023. So at that point, so you don't have a wholesale change every 4 years, we have to stagger it. So again, this map, while will become law as of January 1st, 2022 is not, the effective date is in April 2023 when as the wards changes. My complete understanding of this going through since, taking over the chair of this committee and reading up on this and how this is supposed to occur. So you will be the 23rd Ward Alderman until the election of March or April 2023, depending upon, the runoff election, who wins the prime, whatever they call the first runoff now, not the primary. So
And I understand,
that's the case.
but as far as, I guess what I'd probably like.
In April, if there's an April election, everyone in the 23rd Ward will still be voting at the precincts they voted after the last 50 years, or wherever they voted in your ward or any other ward, because we can't create, they would not be able to vote because there wouldn't be a 23rd Ward according to the new map. So the 23rd Ward has to exist until we cut down to 14, which will be April 2023.
Okay, I'm fine with the explanation. I guess I'm confused. I'm not confused. And of course, that would be the easiest way. I'm just saying that when the Board of Elections sends stuff out, which
Again,
they're going to honor the old map, but the senatorial districts and all that won't be the same in that. That would have already changed, and they're not going to wait till catch up with us.
Joe, once we get a map that we feel confident in and we all agree on, then it goes to the Board of Elections, and those Board of Election changes again won't take effect. Your ward legally has to exist until 2023 because you are an elected official for the 23rd Ward.
No, that's fine. I'm happy with that. It makes it easier and better. I just, in the confusion, like I said, is mine. I guess I'm just confused by when that goes over to the Board of Elections. People's senatorial districts will have changed. Their state representatives will have changed. The area that your state representative district will have changed, but your city wards wouldn't have changed it. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. And I guess I just want you to understand where my confusion's coming from.
All right.
We're the only ones not changing, but everybody else is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Navarro, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I didn't raise my hand to address that issue, but I did put the charter language in the chat box there. And I think that this is probably one of many issues that we should have an attorney consult with us on. And I know at least 4 years ago, there were many of us who had raised these exact same questions and said, these are things that we can be working on now, even though we're not getting the data until 2021. So I think we should definitely engage the city councilor's office, if nobody else, and get clarity on this. I think these are straightforward questions. They're good questions. The public deserves answers. We need answers. The language in the charter is there. It shouldn't require us to speculate. It's not going to be won by us voting on it. We just need a lawyer to tell us how it's going to be.
Sure.
And I think we can do that. But to what I originally, let me just bring up another point about attorneys. One of the highlights, I would say, of the meetings the last couple of nights is that we did have an attorney who works on redistricting issues talk to us for 3 minutes. And that was the first time we've had an attorney address this committee about the legal requirements of redistricting. And it just made me realize that was really helpful. And I think that especially given that our first map, is not even constitutionally viable, which I know we all know it's a draft, but the one thing that we absolutely have to do is one person, one vote. And we spent hours listening to people comment on a map that they couldn't see, and that was not constitutionally possible. I think it would really behoove us to spend a little bit of time getting some clarity from some sort of legal counsel on these issues, because we don't have time to have another map that doesn't meet the legal requirements. And there are a lot of values that we heard from people and a lot of values that we have about whether it's about neighborhoods and diversity and all of those sorts of things. But we have to have a map that meets legal muster, and we don't have time for us to kind of decide about these things amongst ourselves when none of us are legal experts in this. So that is my plug for us to get some legal counsel, which we budgeted for earlier this year in this process. What I raised my hand for, though, was that I looked at the map. I've opened it in Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and I can't manipulate the map. I mean, I can't look around. I don't know if anybody else has had that issue, but I was wondering, Tom, if you're able to share your screen and show us what is now available that was not before, because and maybe it's
It should
me,
be
my
in,
settings
I
are
think
such,
it was the clerk put it in everyone's, put it in the Google Drive for this meeting. Is that
I
what
know
you're
I
not
opened
able
it
to
up
see?
and it's an image file, and all I can do.
You can see, you can read the streets on it. You can read the street boundaries.
Of a very small section of it, but I'm not able to move the image around. And also, I think
all of them except for, from what I understand, and I didn't.
The public does not have
Listen.
access to Drive in any case, so we need to get up.
Right, they're going to be
Something
up
online.
for the public, but this, I think they were putting the Google Drive for this meeting also.
Okay,
So
well, I'm happy
so-
to share
so-
my screen and show you what I can see. I
Well,
cannot see.
So so like a ward like Ward A, if you're looking at a
can't see
screenshot
Ward
of that
A.
one, then there's multiple screenshots for that one because it was so large.
Okay.
Now, to make it readable, it could have been one screenshot for that large ward, but it wouldn't be very readable. So it's in sections. Some of the other wards that are more, that are smaller in just geographic size, you can click on and you should be able to see the entire ward outline along with and be able to read the streets that form the boundaries for that ward.
And is all of that available on the website too for the public?
If it's not now, Mary Goodman is going to be putting it up very shortly.
Okay, and I would just really recommend,
it's up
again, there are experts out there who do this. Somebody has already put this on Google. That's the map I've been using for the last 2 or 3 days. Somebody who was at the hearing earlier this week managed to put it in a Google map in one format that you can move and zoom around. This board has spent thousands of dollars on software, and I just have to say that we are not maximizing its use. I feel like we should be able to do this. I very much feel the public's frustration these last few days, just because I myself have spent so much time on this. And I know we have the tools, and I just am requesting that we get whatever help we need to make sure that we are maximizing those so the public can see what is available out there, that we have access to it as well. Clicking around on 12 different screens is really, I mean, maybe that's helpful for you all, but not for us. And we are dependent on making sure that we get a constitutionally viable map in the next week. And I'm just getting very concerned. So please, just attorneys, techie folks, whatever, like, let's get them in here and get this done well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I see the president has joined us.
Yes.
So I don't know if you caught most of I saw you kind of click on while Alderman Navarro was speaking. Can we address any of these technical issues or as far as, because I'm going, with my phone right now, I'm pulling up the small screens, and as Tom said, certain wards do pop up because they're geographically, just they fit, Ward A up along Baden area and all that is so huge because no one lives, it's all industrial. That does take a few things to get to, but no, I'm not a computer guy usually, but I'm finding my way around. Okay.
Yeah. So all you have to do is just click whatever ward. If it's H, just click that. You can view the map and so on and so forth. We can do these things in a ton of different formats. It was my understanding that people wanted to see like just those specific ones and be able to download them. So we had them put out in that way, but we can do them any way that in a ton of different ways. So we can, do whatever format, you like caught at the end what the other one was saying. We can do it in that same format where you can just look at, the whole thing also. So I think that would be a good idea to do this next, release of the map. But But yeah, it isn't like it's a technical difficulty or anything. It was, mainly just wanting to know what people, just needing to know what people, other things that people like to see and responding to it.
Okay. And also there was a question, have we, we have our counsel, for the board, or is there any other legal counsel we've been attaching to this process that we need to reach out to?
Yeah, so we've already had a discussion with the city council's office, because typically to hire counsel, the city council's office would have to approve that counsel. But we're in agreement with the city council's office that we can just through a process directly at the board, hire them directly as a short-term under a short-term contract. So we're working with the clerk to get that process started. We essentially need them on board right about the time we're finalizing that the map. So I'd say if we have them on board in like a week and a half or something like that, they will be able to get up to speed very quickly, because the law is what the law is, and our map isn't that humongous and complicated like a map from Chicago, LA, or some of these other major metropolitan areas. So they'll be able to make it through it fairly quickly.
All right, and if you missed our first, the alderman from the 23rd was worrying about when this map takes into effect. As you and I have discussed, and I believe public knowledge, this map does not take effect till April 2023, even though it goes into law, is signed by the mayor at that point, but everyone keeps their wards that they have now until the next election process.
Yeah, that's probably the cleanest way to do it. Although if you read the charter, those boundaries, the minute it's adopted, those boundaries are technically in place. But all the members of the Board of Aldermen, should continue to just represent the wards the way they currently represent them until they're elected under those boundaries, right? So I think that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you'd have lopsided representation, because depending on where that border is drawn, the alderperson that used to represent it may have only a small area to represent in the new area. So I think what we do is write that into the bill. So when we're finalizing the bill, we'll just clarify that point and clarify the fact that after the election, those new boundaries, that the newly elected aldermen will begin representing those wards in accordance to those boundaries.
Yes, thank you, sir. That was my understanding, as we have been discussing this since, for the past year or so, how to do this the best way, and to make it a practical situation. Okay, with that, I see that Alderwoman Davis has her hand up for the first time. Please proceed, Alderwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things I wanted to ask is, can we put the federal guidelines into the portal for the public to read?
Absolutely.
I think that would clear up a lot.
Yeah.
Please do, because that was helpful when the professor and Elbert Walton identified that we have guidelines. We can't just do what we want to do. And we also have a charter that indicates who's responsible to draw the lines for this city of St. Louis. Those are very legal directives that people need to be able to read for themselves. And that will eliminate a lot of the misinformation that's out here.
Yeah.
To think that you cannot count every person, that's insane. That's why you have the
Yes,
census data, in order to
exactly
be
right.
able to count the actual population.
Exactly
So
right.
those federal guidelines indicate all of that very clearly. And it also indicates the priorities and how they should take place, irregardless to the concerns that we may have, and they're all good ones. But the guidelines from the federal government must be followed.
Yeah,
We
our leader,
must follow them,
they
the
must
legal
be,
requirements.
yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, some of them are not the priorities that a lot of people have individually.
Yeah, yeah, and um, uh, we've heard testimony that we all know to be absolutely false, right? Um, uh, where people are saying, well, they did that based on the over 18 population, which disenfranchises all these young African American kids. That is, to me, as an African American male who has fought his entire life to try to create a better, life for kids all over this country, right? It's not just stuff we do here in the city, but friends of mine and myself, we work on these types of things across the country. And for all of you, it's just insulting, right? But we know that came from a lie that a lack of a better way to put it, a lobbyist type put out there just to soil this process so that they can help to prop up any standings on Prop R, right? So we're going to deal with those things. I don't think that no matter what we do, we will not eliminate some of these things that people are bringing up, because they're not, some of these things aren't for legitimate reasons. They're doing it out of political reasons. Now, I think that at the same time, when they bring up whatever they bring up, I think it's really important for us to answer it. I think that if there's ways that we can do things better, I think we need to just continue to do them and continue to get better each and every day, right? And but also at the same time understand that if we're looking for a world where the folks that are really pushing Prop R will somehow come back and say the committee's doing everything right and this is a great process, that it will not happen. It's just not going to happen. So, but I think again, we should respond. I think we need to assure that the air is clear. And to your point, the two people last night did it. They cleared it, right? Even though all of us have talked about those things from the inception of this deal, right? But two people last night did a really good job in clearing that up on behalf of, not on our behalf, but just by understanding the law, right? Yeah, so.
Well, I'm not concerned about Prop R or any of the proponents of Prop R. I'm mainly concerned about the general public.
Oh, absolutely.
I need simplicity in explanations.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that the average individual understands what we are doing.
And they can
so for
get
me,
the information. Yeah.
All I'm asking is that we put those simple guidelines there that we must follow. And I remember clearly when Attorney Walton was explaining it, he said there are 5 primary things that the federal government sends us. That's a simple thing for us to list those 5 things. And then there's the charter that we must follow. That's a simple thing for us to list. And any information that we disseminate, and it must be in that portal for those people who do rely on our social media or whatever. So at the end of the day, we also need to become learned on those priorities. And I don't think every member of the committee is. And so we need to receive it so that we can become robots in repeating it appropriately. So, I'm real I'm real concerned about and I need to put this gently, but I can't spend a lot of time on what other people are saying or doing. I just want to spend all my time on us getting all of our things done in a proper fashion, because I know that we can, I know that we will, and making sure that, because remember, there are only 5 people out of the 28 that have ever been through a redistricting process before at the Board of Aldermen. So we need to make sure that all language is provided, all rules and regulations are provided, because a lot of the alderpersons, even unfortunately, have listened to a lot of different folk. And I want us to be clear and just keep the guidelines in front of us.
Yeah,
The federal guidelines come before anything else.
exactly.
So we have to make sure, and they make that clear in their guidelines, that what they say comes first.
Exactly
So,
right. Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we do that. That's all.
I think
Thanks.
the great is absolutely great idea. You know, I've been going around the neighborhood meetings, given that update that you're talking about, and I walk through the federal, state, and local guidelines, and you know, I do it several times just during the course of that meeting and talk to them about the importance of it. And the reason I do that, and I tell them, I said, it's important that you understand these guidelines, which is why I'm pushing them so hard, so that when you look at a map, you will understand it. You'll understand why lines may be drawn the way they are, why we can't, keep every neighborhood whole. Like some of these things, you will understand them. And by the end of those meetings, the communities, at least the ones I've visited, they get it, right? So, but I think we have to continue to refer back to them. We have to continue to refer back to them, so that as much as we can keep them out in front and keep referring people to them, we're going to be better off. I'm not talking about the Board of Aldermen, not talking about this committee. I'm talking about us as a city. We're going to be better off, because it provides people the tools and the knowledge to cut through things, right? So as much information as we can put out in front of people, we need to do it. So, this is another good thing, and I think we do it, and send email blasts out about it and stuff, because when people see it, they're like, yeah, I get it. And, and they're always thankful. I got another call this morning from a neighborhood over in the 18th ward, where the person said, I attended the talk you gave, and I just want to tell you thank you. And I've been passing this information on to my neighbors and friends. So so we need to, I'm just agreeing with you.
All right.
Yeah, the chairman was looking like, you're getting long-winded.
We will get that on the portal. And what for those not familiar, the 5 things are compactness, competitiveness, contiguous, proportionality, political subdivisions. We have to meet that criteria for all this. So you can't. These are out of the my notes from reading off the where everyone has to. Equal population is the proportionality. They did it down to 3 C's and 2 P's in the book. So yes, it is equal, but they do that as proportionalities, are the word they're using. We'll make it a little simpler when we put it into the portal. But these things, you have to keep the unlike what you see on our current 28 ward map, where there's fingers and legs going out from all these wards, trying to keep rectangles, these compact wards. So neighbors are neighbors. One, the contiguous, where we keep things as small as we can and as local as we can. So those things, we'll put that into some proper language if we could, Mr. President and Mr. Shepherd, into the portal. Mary actually will be doing the hard work. I know for you guys, but she's doing a great job with all this, and we appreciate that. I see Alderman from the 23rd has your hand up, or did you forget to put it down?
I just, I had I raised it again, actually, because what the president said sends me back to that same question. And the wards at the first of the year, the new wards exist. So the voters will be going not to the same places.
Oh,
What-
If I understand,
But
what
the
he's saying,
legislative-
we would be representing the same area. I understand that, but
The voters will go to those new polling places and stuff because when we finish the map, our piece, we take it to the election board and they're gonna draw all their precincts and everything. And when that map becomes law at that next aldermanic election, the voters will go to wherever those precincts and polling places are based on what the
April
no. I understand.
2023.
Alderman Davis, and I love you, but I'm trying to get this straight. I agree with Alderwoman Navarro, would like to see an attorney, but as of the first of the year, these new warrants go into effect. There are other elections going to come up next year. There's going to be the different elections for the state reps and all that come up next year. So my understanding, for what it's worth, is that, I guess my question, I won't say my understanding, because I have a different understanding in my mind that I can't seem to get past. These new wards and boundaries will be drawn. When somebody gets their polling place next April or May to go vote, not for aldermen, because that don't come up for a year and a half. So next year, they go to vote for state rep, or they vote for some other position. I'm sorry, I closed the doors.
All right. Hey, I think I have enough information to answer that. I think I have enough information to answer it. So here's what. So after we send the map over to the election board, right? The election board will draw their voting districts, which is, all of the precincts and stuff according to that new map. Now they can choose at that point, because remember, us adopting and passing a map, right? They can still draw their precincts and polling places and do what they want to on top of that, right? So if indeed they're ready and they feel like they're ready to do it in April, that'll be their choice, whether they want to have a new set of polling places and new precincts in April. They do not have to do that because they have a network of polling places and districts and stuff across the city. But it's going to be up to them if indeed they're finished laying out all the precincts and all the contracts they need to do with all the venues and everything by April, right? So that'll be in their hands after we send things over to them.
Because the aldermanic election doesn't come up next April, it comes up 2 Aprils from now.
Yes, and they certainly will be ready by then.
Oh, yeah. So I would ask the chairman if at some point, it don't have to be at any particular point, that we would have someone from the election board come over and just clarify it for me. Because I've been asked this over and over, and now I'm even more confused than I was, which is important, I will say.
Alderman Vaquero. So I've been in contact with Gary Stoff and discussing this issue and trying to make sure that we stay coordinated with the election board. He would love to come over and talk about it, right? And the things that he's going to talk to, for example, when I asked him how long would it take you all to draw those districts after we send it over to you, he said, well, it depends on the things we have going on at the time, but we'll jump on it and move as quickly as possible. But then on the back end of that, let's say they have, let's say if, once they finish with that, right, what their new maps are going to be, if indeed they want to bring online new polling places and everything, they still have to have time on the back end of designing that to be able to establish any agreements they need with any of those new venues that, you know, on the back end of that. So it would depend on when they would finish that first piece, right? I'm sure we can get them. I'm sure Gary would probably say, you know, if that's what the board wants, we'll try to get it done and be ready for that April election. But you know, it's, you know, their real deadline is 2 years from now. That's the real deadline that they have to meet. But I think they'll come. I think they will have something in place quicker.
So when people call me, constituents call me, it's fair to tell them that next year then the 23rd ward would still exist and that everything's the same and the polling places don't change. And that.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Because but now we're back to the conflict.
No. It's okay. So what I'm saying is that, you know, that's ultimately up to the election board. So once we finish our piece, the election board has a piece that they have to do, and it's called, you know, voting districts. And the voting districts are essentially, you know, precincts laid on top of the newly formatted aldermanic districts, right? And that's, you know, in technical sense, that's what they call the voting districts, right? The district that you actually vote in. It'll be like, for example, if it's you know, Ward 14, Precinct 2 would actually be my quote unquote voting district. The election board puts those in place after we officially establish those districts, right? And then it's, you know, then they begin to decide if and when they implement that. They, you know, they more than likely can do it by April, but you know,
I would, you know, I would appreciate maybe, like I said, and I could call Gary too, but I'm just thinking that it wouldn't hurt him to just come over. And I'm not even trying to be argumentative. I will flat out say without any question that I'm a little bit confused. I get asked these questions, and you know, I don't want to give the wrong answers out, and so I'm you know, I'm somewhat confused. I get that we'll keep our boundaries the same as far as funding, and I'll still take care of, even though after whenever Tillis Park won't be in the boundaries that was the 23rd ward, but I'll still, in this next budget year, still deal with Tillis Park or Lindenwood Park. I get all that. I just, for the voters, when they come out in the April election, you know, well, anyway, I'm still somewhat confused, and I probably need to take a long time. I'm not exactly the fastest learner, so we won't do it here. But I really would like to get some.
Let's assume it two ways. First way, let's assume that they implement it by April. They finish all the precincts and they're ready to go. They have contracts and stuff in place with all the venues. And April election, they decide, okay, we want to use it in April. And let's assume that right now you're Ward 23, but let's assume you end up being Ward 6, right? So what the voter will get in the mail would be that card with their voter card with their polling place and their ward and precinct, right? So when they show up at that polling place, they will just go to whatever table is listed for their precinct. So, but let's assume they change their polling place. Typically, the election board do work with us and give us information if indeed they're going to change a polling place. So we would have time also to get information out to all the voters of whatever the new polling place is going to be. But the footprint for having an electoral system where people can, easily come and vote would still be the footprint. It wouldn't change because you're reducing the number of wards. You don't automatically reduce the number of polling places because you would make it more difficult for people to vote.
But
So
you still-
that footprint would still stay the same across the city. Sorry.
But it wouldn't, because it wouldn't, in my opinion, because let's just say Ward 6, it's an imaginary ward, okay? But let's just say you get your polling place. Now you're gonna be in Ward 6 precinct blah. If you do it in the overlay that you're talking about, people will be in Ward 6 and Ward 12, let's say, because my ward was split into 2. So, in a sense, my ward's been split in 2.
Yeah,
So now, under that, if they get they can't be in 2 different wards voting. I mean, I understand what you're saying about the overlay, but that overlay they can't be in Ward 6 and Ward 7 and still voting at the same place.
Here's you have to just forget about the ward number, right? Which is why I'm saying voting districts. You have to think about it in terms of voting district. It doesn't matter what that ward technical ward number is. The things that matter are the precinct and the address, right? So and attach whatever ward number you want on that, 6, 12, 14, 15, whatever.
Yeah, right.
So what happens is that with that address, that tells them where they go to vote. When they show up at the polling place, at whatever that address is, they're going to go to that precinct, right? So you can attach Ward 6, 8, 12, or whatever to it. Right now, they go to a polling place in the 23rd Ward. 9 times out of 10, that polling place isn't going to change, right? Ultimately, when the wards are reduced, that polling place will probably still be there, or another one right next to it, right? The polling places aren't going to go away because they have to maintain that same footprint.
Okay, let's.
It'll just be in a different ward.
Yeah.
That polling
Well,
place won't be in.
I think what we need to do is
I'm
take this matter. We'll get some clarity on this before Tuesday's meeting. If we have to, I'll invite Mr. Stoff here. We'll have some discussion
Please
with him,
do.
Mr. President, you and I, myself,
Right.
and we'll get some clarity. So because we're kind of going around in circles right now.
And I understand that, and I'm just trying to say, because I could call Mr. Stoffer, we could meet separately, but then again, we keep saying we want to make sure we're doing everything in public.
That's correct.
So that, and even though it makes it longer here, it at least we're
I've
doing this
got notes on this
publicly.
point. We'll get clarity on this point.
Thank you.
And I mentioned before, I forgot we have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday next week because next Thursday is Veterans Day. City offices will be closed, so we'll be having a Tuesday, Wednesday meeting next week. And we'll get clarity on this and get this all straightened out. With that, I think the Alderwoman Navarro has her hand up again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick question. I wholeheartedly agree, getting some legal counsel, getting Gary Stoff, that sounds like great idea. In addition to that, can we get a spreadsheet with the block level data? This committee hasn't seen any of that yet, so we're just looking at these images, PDFs and PNGs, and also the numbers for the ward bound, for the map that we do have. I know that the numbers are laid out in a PDF online, but I have to go to each of those images and take out the numbers and put them into a spreadsheet. And so if the committee could have access to the actual spreadsheet with the block numbers and the numbers for the wards that you've already drawn, that would be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Well, email it right now. You'll have it
All right.
by the time you get out of here.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Alderwoman Navarro. I don't see any other hands up at this point. Typically, I go through if anyone has any. I'm not going to go through one by one. If there's any last comments or things, please raise your hand. And if not, we will. Any closing statements, President or Mr. Shepherd?
No, I see that, I think, which alderman is this? Nothing, no.
Okay.
No, oh, no, I think that's been covered thoroughly. Yeah.
All right, all right.
All
Like
right,
I
thank
say,
you.
we're going to, you and I, we spending a lot of time together this weekend discussing, and as we go through these changes,
Yeah.
trying to get things done. And Mr. Clerk, I will shoot for Tuesday at 11 o'clock and Wednesday at 11 o'clock. I think is already scheduled. If that is the case, so hopefully we can get that done, and we'll enjoy our Veterans Day and remember all the people who have given everything for us to be able to sit here and do this as we are today. Without them, we would be nowhere. We, are very respectful of what's this country is and how we've gotten here. So with that, I will excuse the absent alderman for necessary absence. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion, we adjourn.
All right. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Nays? All right, the ayes have it. We will adjourn to Tuesday, which will be November 9th. Sorry, I had to get my calendar out. My glasses aren't working that well. So see you all Tuesday, November 9th. We'll see you all tomorrow morning at the full board. Thank you again for all your time. I know this is going to taking a lot of effort, but it's well worth it. And see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you.